Joining us now, of course, you hear him on ESPN, calls a lot of sports, college football, college basketball. He'll be calling the American Conference Men's Basketball Championships this week up in Fort Worth, Texas. Part of the great crew over there. And of course, he calls softball throughout the season. I have to mention that as the softball guy. I speak of, he's also the voice, calls Baltimore Oriole games and Major League Baseball. I speak of Kevin Brown joining us. How you? I shortchanged you on the resume because you have a lot of stuff you're doing. It's impressive though.
Yeah, I'm going on regular dog walks, Eric. I'm taking piano lessons. Who knows what I'm doing? But we can't spend this whole time just talking about the things I'm doing. I mean, we'd run out of time, frankly.
This is
But
true. That's
but
true.
that was a lovely introduction. And I appreciate the introduction and the kudos, and I am happy to be here.
Well, let's start with obviously this week. What's in the forefront for you? The American Conference Championships. You've covered the American Conference. What are you looking forward to the most this week out of Fort Worth? Obviously, you got Houston, the number one ranked team in the country,
Yeah.
playing for the top seed perhaps of the NCAA tournament. Memphis trying to secure a spot in the field, and then who knows if there's a team that could maybe spoil the party here. What's your thoughts on this week's tournament?
Well, it on paper it's certainly set up for Houston Memphis round three. We had the first game 3 weekends ago in Houston. Houston never trailed; they won by 8. Memphis hung around, and they were on the road without Kendrick Davis. And then the game just a few days ago on Sunday was a phenomenal game. Memphis didn't lead until the second half, but took the lead, held it for a while. Houston came back, and then Jamal Shed hit a jumper at the buzzer. Second time in 3 years, Houston has beaten Memphis at the buzzer in the regular season finale. Tremont Mark did it a couple of years ago, too. Last year, we hit a Houston-Memphis final 1 week after the last day of the regular season. Memphis ran Houston out of the gym in Memphis. And then a week later, Houston beat them pretty handily in Fort Worth. So here we have another Houston-Memphis regular season finale, another great game. And I think there's a very strong chance 1 week later it's Houston-Memphis again. That is the top line story. But, sometimes the top line story is the obvious story. I think Houston is the best team in the country. I've thought that for a while. They've been my pick from day one to win the championship, the national championship, and I'm not wavering now. It doesn't seem like it's a year where there's necessarily a behemoth like a Baylor from a couple of years ago. Baylor and Gonzaga that year were so head and shoulders above the rest of the field. So I think Houston has as good a chance as anybody. I don't know. I don't know really as I look over the American field who could spoil the Houston-Memphis party, because I think those two are pretty far above the rest of the field. I have a couple of teams that I'm interested in, but as I look at it overview, I think it's all set up for what might be a great third game between those two teams.
I want to ask you about one of the teams in the field there, UCF, that you've covered in various sports, actually. You've covered them in football and men's basketball. I want to start with
Yeah.
men's hoops. What's your thoughts on UCF men's basketball, Johnny Dawkins and Taylor Hendricks, who has obviously had a great freshman year for them? They've had some tough losses, close losses, so they got a lot of work to do, obviously. But what's been your thoughts on them, having covered the program?
I was hoping that just as a neutral observer and somebody who's a fan of the American Conference, I was hoping in around mid-January this could be an NCAA tournament team. I really liked what they did at the start of conference play. They start 4-1. They have that amazing, crazy, emotional, gutty double overtime win over Memphis, and it seemed like everything was going their way. And then it's sort of hard for me to put a finger on what's happened, to be honest with you. Offensive inconsistency, but at times their defense letting them down, and that's what surprises me, because as long as I've covered Johnny's teams, defensively they've been really strong. They maybe got South Florida right as South Florida was ascending. You give up 85 points, give it up 82 in the home loss to South Florida. The loss to Temple at home in overtime. I know Temple has had a pretty good year, but that's a game UCF should win. I just think a lack of consistency offensively and a couple more defensive blemishes. But as I look at the last few games and the way they've defended, and I look at the skill level of Taylor Hendricks and the versatility, I wonder about this team. If there's a sleeper in this bracket, UCF for really all season has been consistently third among American teams in KenPom. They've been third best among American teams in the net. They are, by Ken Pomeroy's metrics, and Ken Pomeroy, for folks that don't know, the stats guru of college basketball. He has them as the fourth least lucky team, the fourth unluckiest team out of 363 in the country, which is basically to say that a lot of close games have not gone their way. And, they win the 7-10 matchup. You get into a battle with Memphis. It's a Memphis team UCF's already beaten this year. I don't know. At some point, the numbers maybe don't lie. They feel like they've been lying for a while because I think UCF's too good to be 17-13, but their underlying metrics are really good. The defense that they've played the last 3 games is really good. And if there is a spoiler in this bracket, I don't think it'll be on the Houston side. I think Houston will cruise to the final. I think Memphis is a little more vulnerable. And UCF has the skill level. They have the ability to shoot. They hit 16 threes in that Memphis home win. So it's a game I would be keeping a very, very close eye on. I know Tulane's beaten Memphis twice this year, but I think the way Memphis and Tulane have gone about the season, I think Memphis is a little bit further ahead now. But UCF could be a tricky matchup. And if there is a spoiler in this bracket, again, it's somewhere on the bottom. Houston will not lose, I don't think, to Cincinnati or Temple. I don't think they'll lose to South Florida or ECU. So UCF and maybe Wichita State, which has played well and has a really strong starting 5. Those are 2 teams that if anybody's going to surprise, I think it could be one of those 2.
Yeah, and UCF's had some injuries too. That's played a role in that. Michael Durr missed some time. Their stats where they're a different defensive team when he's in the lineup, when he's not in the lineup. They lost C.J. Walker early in the year. Darius Johnson has been in and out of the lineup, so that kind of probably goes part of why the record is and the unluckiness, as you mentioned. That's some great stats, though.
Yeah,
I did not realize that they kept.
I mean, in conference tournaments too, I think teams shorten their rotations. Right, you play the guys that have gotten you here. You play the guys that you want to play. That's why I think Wichita State is interesting, because Wichita State's not great outside of their starting 5. Their bench is a little bit hit and miss, but their starting 5 is all averaging double figures or just under it. And I think UCF's 5 can be as good as anybody's besides Houston's and maybe Memphis's. And with some of the injuries that, the depth has been exposed. But I think when it comes down to it, you're going to play your best 5 guys probably 30 plus minutes in a conference tournament. It's all about how good is your top 5. Whereas in the regular season, like on a Wednesday night on 2 days rest, it might be how good is your 1 through 9. So I think UCF and Wichita State may have that going for them. You don't always want to be the deepest team of the conference tournament. You want to have the best top 5 because those guys are just going to play a disproportionate number of minutes because, the season's on the line.
We're speaking with Kevin Brown of ESPN here. I want to ask you, what's it like? Give us an idea what your preparation is like this week, getting ready for this conference tournament, because you have to kind of know everybody. It's not like a single game where you can focus on just 2 teams. You're going to do a handful of teams, and then it depends on results. Different match. What's it like preparing for a week to do a conference tournament?
Busy. I have a softball game tomorrow too, and I had a spring training game yesterday, so my head's spinning a little bit. The good news is I've been in the American for 6 years now, and I've covered the league again a lot this year. So I will make charts, or some people call them boards, on Microsoft Excel. There are a lot of folks that handwrite their charts, and that probably helps them with gathering information. I type all my stuff out in part because when I see a team later in the year, I have information there. So I'll make player boxes for all the players in the rotation. I'll have their stats. I'll have some personal notes, height, weight, etc. So the good news is, I've watched UCF this year, but I've not called a UCF game, so I don't have a UCF chart. So I'd have to make an outline of that. But I've done Houston, I've done Memphis, I've done Cincinnati, I've done Temple, done Wichita State. I've done most of the teams in the league, SMU, Tulsa. So I just have to go back to a previous version of that file and type in some new numbers in the stats, type in some new trends, update their conference rankings. I'll print my stuff out at FedEx office. There's a FedEx office that's located very close to my hotel in Fort Worth, which is good. I print them out on 8.5 by 14 legal size paper, staple them to a manila folder. And I'll try to go into Friday with, just updated outlines of the teams I might see on Saturday. But I know on Friday I'm gonna have the first two quarterfinals. So I'm not gonna have Houston, and I know I'll have Cincinnati Temple. So probably tomorrow, Thursday, I'll just have a shell of South Florida and a shell of East Carolina, which will just be names, numbers, stats, pretty basic stuff. And then whoever wins that game, I'll fill in a little bit more personal notes as the day goes on. And I've seen those teams play too, but not personally. I've just seen them on video. So Thursday, we'll be gathering information about those teams a little bit. Thursday night, I have Wichita State, Tulsa. Have had both those teams in the last couple of weeks. So again, I've spoken with both coaches recently. I have personal information. It'll be about updating numbers. And then day before the game, or on game day, you try to talk to the sports information directors of the team. Those are the folks in athletic communications. Tulsa has a bunch of injuries right now. As we record this, I know I have the Tulsa game in 2 days. I don't know who the hell's going to play for Tulsa.
Yeah.
So I'll try to get that information before the game so I can scratch those names off my boards if I need. And then we'll show up before the game an hour and a half or so early, try to spend a few minutes with each coach, get some game day information, personnel keys to the game, etc. But you know, basically I'll make sure that I have all of my notes ready to go for Wichita, Tulsa, for the three teams I know Friday. And then I'll just do a little outline of South Florida, East Carolina, so I can prioritize my time better. I don't want to get all the way in the weeds yet because I don't know who's going to win that game. So I figure if I only prep for one of those teams, the other one would win. So the way it goes. So I'll just do a little bit of work on that, and then as Thursday goes on, I'll fill in the gaps and probably Thursday night finalize my South Florida, East Carolina notes. Do the first two games Thursday. I'll watch or Friday. I'll watch the last two games Friday, and again, I'll be probably updating my notes as those games go along. So it is a cycle. You know, it is a constant stream of work as the week goes along and along. And then Saturday, you just punch in the new numbers from the teams on Friday. Sunday, you punch in the new numbers from the teams on Saturday. And then I guess I do basketball 6 months after that. And we take a long break to call baseball. It's fun. I mean, it's the conference tournaments are a thrill. And the good news is, like, a lot of the personal stories are interesting, but the drama is so compelling. The theater of it is so compelling that you don't need to lean in as heavily as you might in a midweek regular season game. It's win or go home, and you know some basic things. You find a couple of important stories, and then you just let the game play out how it's going to play out.
No, it's great. Now, but what's amazing, and you just referenced this, you're also preparing, doing baseball, and you're doing softball. You told me you're doing softball.
Yeah, I have
we're fitting
Auburn,
this
Georgia
in.
Tech tomorrow.
Right. So, like full. I mean, in the fall it's crazier for me. I do basketball in the fall, in the fall winter filling in, while I also do volleyball, soccer. But normally now I'm just doing softball. You're balancing basically three sports at the same time frame. How do you
Yeah.
juggle that? Little, because it's, you know, you just describing that. I really appreciate you breaking down how you prepare for this conference tournament. It's a lot of work, but you're also preparing for baseball and softball. Like, how do you do that?
I don't really know. Ask me on Friday. I mean, um, I mean, it's hard. I don't have any. I don't have any real secrets. Like, I don't have any tricks, any life hacks. Just I just kind of have no choice. I just have to be prepared. Monday was Orioles spring training, and I work for the Orioles, so I know the Orioles very well. And you know, it was Orioles Phillies split squad game, right? So that usually when a team travels for spring training, they don't bring the regulars. And if people are watching the game, they're watching it on the Orioles network. They do not care about the Phillies backups. They do not care about the Phillies AAA team. So I spent almost no time on the Phillies. Know a couple of things about Bryson Stott, Alec Bohm, but people are tuning into an Orioles spring training game to know about the Orioles. I've got that pretty well covered. I sat down with our manager for a little bit yesterday, got his overview on the team, talked to one of our hitting coaches, just went through the lineup with him, what are guys working on in the off season, what kind of swing changes, etc. Sat down with our pitching coach for a few minutes. any new pitches? What are these guys working on in spring training, et cetera? And then a lot of yesterday was about the rule changes. I had done 2 spring training games the previous week, so I had some familiarity with the pitch timer and all that kind of stuff. So that was yesterday. And then on the flight home from Sarasota, really started digging into this Auburn Georgia Tech game. Went through both teams' media guides, pulled out any pertinent information there. Had coach calls with both coaches today. So I've gotten most of my information now from coach calls, media guides, going through the roster. Now tonight will just be about making that fit into a cohesive Microsoft Word document. Then I'll have the game tomorrow, and once the game tomorrow ends, I'll probably take a couple of hours to outline some stuff. And then on the flight to Dallas, I'll do some more work. I do a lot of work on planes. I guess if there's one secret I have, it's I really don't get to watch many movies or like read many books on planes, which I like to do. But I'm just always trying to get ahead on the next flight, build the next chart, go through the next media guide. And I'm very good to the airlines. I contribute a lot of money to the airline Wi-Fi fund because I have an uninterrupted couple of hours in the air. It's like the best time I can get work done. So
they're excited when they see you on a flight. They're excited.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Platinum Diamond Elite Wi-Fi member that I am.
Very fair. I want to ask about, you mentioned softball, obviously. Throughout the year, you call games with Amanda Scarborough, especially in the postseason and into the World Series. What's it like working with her? And how much does she help you, too? Because I know even with basketball's done, you're going a lot of Oriole games, and then back and forth between baseball and softball. I would imagine she helps you in a big part being around the game. What's it like working with her?
Normally I would probably make some sort of snarky comment and then get into my serious answer, but I'll just get right into the serious answer, which is that Amanda's the best. I love working with her dearly. She is as passionate about the sport as any analyst in any sport I work with. My first year doing softball was 2018, and I called a couple of regular season games and then did a super regional. Can't remember if I did a regional that year. I think I might have just done a super regional. I loved it. I mean, how could you not love it? If you watch softball, you fall in love quickly. And then I didn't get to do any in 2019 because of my oral schedule. 2020, I got a call from Megan Ronowitz, who's in charge of softball at the network. And she said, hey, we want to put you on the World Series and you'll be with Amanda Scarborough. And I didn't really know Amanda. And I was blown away that they thought of me. And I got in touch with Amanda, and I think the first time I called her, we probably talked for an hour. And I really kind of fell in love with the game through Amanda and through her passion for it and through her love for it and through her just astonishing knowledge for it. And then obviously 2020, we didn't get to go to the World Series. The season was canceled before I had the chance to do a game. So, I think my contract was up that year with ESPN. I hoped I would come back. I really wanted to, but I said no. And then I thought, God, I hope I didn't miss an opportunity to do the World Series, especially because I had more baseball coming. Thankfully, I didn't. Thankfully, the Orioles have been great with letting me be flexible. Thankfully, I was able to do it in 21. This will be my 3rd year doing it. It'll be my 3rd year with Amanda. I mean, she's just the best. She helps me so much. I am doing a lot. I am doing baseball. I am still doing basketball. So I just text her all the time with random softball thoughts and questions, and she always has the answers. That's way too many nice things that I've said about her now. So I should probably stop. But
she owes you then. Now she owes you. When she comes back, when I talk to her next time, she better kind of return the favor.
Yeah, you should ask her, and then if she doesn't say anything nice, then you should play this clip and make her feel like a jerk.
I will. I promise. Yeah. Scouts honors. As a fellow play-by-play, I will do that. And I got your back.
Okay, great. But yeah, Amanda's the best. Everybody loves Amanda, and if you know Amanda, you love Amanda, and her work ethic is like second to none. She is as good as anybody in any sport, anywhere. And I'm not with her tomorrow. I'm with Michelle Smith, who is also phenomenal. And then next weekend, Amanda and Michelle and I will be together in Tuscaloosa. We'll get the Arkansas-Alabama series, and yeah, I just can't wait to see her and to get rolling again.
What's it like when you called that for a World Series in OKC last year? You called a game Oklahoma State Texas went viral with that
Oh,
wacky play in that fifth inning where Texas came from behind. What's it like calling that in that stage?
it's it's the dream. Um, I think everybody who calls games will say they want to be able to document the biggest moments. You don't know when the biggest moments are going to come. That was a 5-0 game with Kelly Maxwell in the circle. 5-0 with Kelly Maxwell in the circle is like 105-0. So when I can't remember how the fifth run scored. Texas hit or Oklahoma State had a couple of home runs. Kylie Naomi hit one. I think they had another one after. It might have been Carly Petty to make it 5-0. I may be wrong, but I think it was Petty.
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah. And at that point, I think I probably turned to Amanda in the break and said, well, at least we had a couple other good games. And we were done. We were writing the game off. And then Courtney Day hit a 3-run home run. Oh, that's kind of interesting. And then that play, which if folks haven't seen it, was just a comedy of errors, a base hit, a bobble in right field, a throw to first. I think it was Haley Busby who then threw the ball into left center field behind the second baseman. Everybody scored on the play. It happened really, really fast. And in softball, the moment can happen in a split second because the bases are so close together. But it also seemed like it took 10 minutes to unfold. Like it was simultaneously at Sonic the Hedgehog hyperspeed and in super slow motion.
Yeah.
And you just couldn't believe it was happening. And what I tried to capture in my voice there was just, oh my God, I cannot believe this is happening. That Oklahoma State's going to blow a 5-run lead with Kelly Maxwell, who was as dominant as anybody in the country, and that there are going to be 2 errors on this play, and the ball's going to end up in left center field. And Texas is unranked, and they've been facing elimination in every series in the postseason. There were all these things swirling through my head as the different players rounded the bases, and it was just surreal. I mean, I've had a couple of those. The Odyssey Alexander play 2 years ago was another play that looked like it took 25 minutes to complete, and you're just seeing it so clearly, and all these disparate thoughts are zooming around your head, and you just try to keep it simple, and you try to make it sound big. It's one of the absolute zaniest plays I've ever seen, and that whole Texas run was just totally inconceivable. But yeah, what's it like? It's almost like an out-of-body experience. It's like you do everything during the regular season, all these midweek games, and then postseason, and it kind of all crystallizes in that one moment. That's just good luck, and you just hope you meet the moment. And I felt like our call did, and Amanda was great afterward, and our crew was great. And I've pulled it up here and there. Like randomly in the off season, I'll just put. I gotta watch the end of that Texas Oklahoma State.
Or your call was nominated for Call of the Year by Extra Innings Softball, and as well as Play of the Year, but also the Call of the Year. A lot of people really enjoyed your call, and that play, is probably the play that will be remembered from last year's World Series.
Yeah. Who won Call of the Year? Did I win that?
No, the Louisiana Tech guy won the Call of the Year for his walk-off call. So I lost too. If it makes
Louisiana Tech. Oh, you were also nominated?
I was nominated for the walk-off.
We're both
Shannon
losers?
Doherty. Yeah, we both lost, Kevin. Yeah, we lost.
Who's this Louisiana Tech guy? Let's find him and beat him
Malcolm
up.
Butler, his name, which is not to be confused with Malcolm Butler, the former football player.
No, well, I'm not to be confused with Kevin Brown, the former baseball player. So I understand his pain.
That's true.
All right, Malcolm, we'll have a support group for people who are not quite as famous as their athlete.
I think you and Amanda did win like the national broadcast of the year, I think, for experience. So it makes you feel any better.
No, that's good. Okay.
There you go.
Well, we'll try harder to win everything this year.
That's true. Couple last quick things. You got to call spring training baseball with Jessica Mendoza. What was that like? When I saw that, I was like, whoa, that's kind of wild. Like you're doing baseball, but you're doing it with Jessica, who obviously covers baseball, but a former softball player. It's kind of like, I was thinking, wow, that's a pretty cool deal.
It was great because Jess has become a friend through the World Series, but we've never called a game together until this past week. We've been at the World Series on the different teams the last 2 years. Jess is awesome. Jess is just one of the most genuine, kind-hearted, sweet, good-natured person. She's a lot of fun. She's she's the kind of person you need a cough button for, because she'll just be laughing and smiling at you when something funny comes up on the air, when the producer says something in your headset. She just has such a good spirit, and after a couple of years, I was really glad we finally got to work together. And yeah, Jess is pretty amazing too. I mean, I cover a bunch of sports, as you said, but for Jess to cover the World Series, for her to cover Major League Baseball. I mean, Jess has covered college football before. Like, she is incredibly versatile and incredibly smart. And to be with her and Tim Kirchin, that's the loosest booth I've ever been in, ever. And maybe the nicest booth. Like, those two they're almost too nice. I kind of wish they would be a little bit ruder to me, just so I'd just so I'd feel, like there was I don't know, a little less sugar. They're just way too nice. They're too good of people. Like, we need a little edge in that booth.
Yeah. Well, you guys sounded great. It was pretty awesome. And I'll be honest, a part of me is like, man, I wonder what a Kevin Brown Mendoza Scarborough broadcast would sound like, either in softball or baseball. Could work.
That'd be fun. I mean, I've done Michelle and Amanda, which is great, and they work really well together. Yeah, I would love to do a game with Jess and Amanda. That would be awesome.
All right.
Maybe in basketball, maybe bring him to the American,
Bring him into the hoops, or if there's room for
Yeah.
John Crispin. I don't know. John likes to talk. He's got to say his piece there. John.
That's right. That's right. We got to give John this space.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna let you go. I know it's a busy week. Thank you so much. American Conference Championships this week. ESPNU and all the ESPN app platforms. You're gonna be on the call. John Crispin, you do a great job every year calling that. Always look forward to it. Then obviously you'll be doing softball and baseball for the Orioles, and then come fall you'll be probably back at football. Probably. Hopefully.
Yeah, probably.
Get
Look
to
at all
see
those.
Might cross paths again with John Rice Plumlee in UCF.
Oh yeah, he's coming back. That's right, isn't he?
Yeah, he's playing baseball
Yeah.
right now. He's playing baseball, hitting over 300. I don't.
Is
did
he
you ever-
really?
Yeah, he's hitting over 300. He's off to a good start. Did you talk to him about? Because I know you covered a couple of his games.
Yeah, we did. We did. Boy, I was impressed with him. Great piano player too,
Yeah.
apparently. Man after my own heart. He's a much better piano player than I am, though. I didn't realize that he was. I mean, I knew he was playing baseball. I didn't realize he was playing that well. I know he was pretty banged up by the end of the year. So, man, I'm glad he's healthy and he's playing. That kid's amazing. He's as fast as anybody I've ever seen play quarterback, I think. At any, I mean, I've not called NFL games in person, but gosh, I've never seen a college quarterback that could run like him. He is special.
Yeah, he's hitting over 300 playing center field. So
Crazy.
yeah, he's doing his good.
Maybe
stuff.
he should be doing the American games with me too. I don't know.
He's busy. He doesn't. I don't think he has time for that. But we could pass it along there. But all right, Kevin, thank you so much. Have a great call this week, and appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. We're big fans, and thanks for talking to us.
Thanks, Eric. Appreciate it.